This is the SPCE 1-month overview reading for the month of September 2023. It's currently July 25th, 2023, 6:14 p.m. Eastern Time. SPCE in the extended hours is $3.71. That's USD, and the shuffle file for the September reading was created on July 4th, 2023 at 8:21 p.m. That's Eastern Time again. That's this file right here. All right, so the overall theme and behavior, we have a significant amount of sideways rotation along a key support level on a multi-day scale. It does gradually get more bullish. And it looks like more volatile in the second half of the month, with like at least one big move to the upside, probably the third week, but maybe another one at the very end of the month on the 24th. And overall, it's going to that volatility ends with a fast, sudden move higher on a multi-day scale. So behavior around the highest high for the month, we have a breakout. So we should see a notable high here, we should see a new high probably on like a multi-month kind of scale. Very likely a breakout above like a key resistance on a multi-month kind of scale. But at least on a multi-day kind of scale, breakout through the high. And behavior around the low, we likely visit the low more than once, which makes sense for sideways rotational on key support. We kind of bounce along support, rotating sideways, and in a case like that, you might have a big rally off of the low and then come back and revisit the low very shortly thereafter, or not too shortly thereafter. But usually that's what you see when there's a Princess of Wands in the lowest low correlator position, is a rally out of a low that offers the opportunity to open up a short position, meaning that you'll probably see the same low again. In some cases, it's a lower low in the following month. Sometimes that could happen, but if it's in the same month, it's going to be the same low. Before we go any further, let's take a look at the July reading and see how we did. This is looking like a really solid reading. Wow. So we had a notable trough here on the... All right, so on the 6th, 7th, and it looks like 5th, 6th notable trough here. So this is pretty solid here on the 6th, on the 6th, really. And then we go from that into a crest on the 14th. So it looks like we were a little bit early indicating a crest. The crest ended up being a little bit further into the week, but still in the middle of notable lows. So we had a low at the beginning of the month, and there you have it, guys. What wasn't a lowest low, but close, here around the 19th, 20th. Probably it was this and this that I was picking up on. So we're off by a day there at the low, but still pretty solid, because we went from like this highest high straight almost to a lowest low. That's pretty darn accurate. It's just the sequence of events is going to be 100%, whereas the timing day by day may vary here or there by a day or two in certain cases, due to the fact that not every tarot card's energy is going to line up exactly with one day of time. It just doesn't work that way. So there is sometimes some variation, like plus or minus 1 or 2 days, but that's, 2 days is rare. And then we go into lowest lows again here, which it looks like we just touched lowest lows today. So that's looking really solid, guys. As far as the overall pattern, we got that pretty accurately. All right, so let's get into the day by day here. On the first, we have an attempt to establish support on a multi-day scale. We don't necessarily establish support, but there's an attempt, and it looks like near the high on a one-day chart there for the first. There's a notable fake-out, shakeout of some kind. Probably a notable fake-out, shakeout on a one-day chart there on the 5th as well, in the midst of a significant decline that'll take us to what's very likely a lowest low towards the end of the day on the 5th or early in the day on the 6th. And then a lot of price changes covered off of that lowest low. Remember, off of the lowest low, we have this big move to the upside that offers an opportunity to open up a short position. So we have this move from a lowest low into a peak or crest on the cusp of the 6th, 7th. And then on the 7th, there's a trade opportunity on the cusp of the 6th, 7th. There's a trade opportunity on the 7th. There's a trade opportunity on the 8th. I'll get into what type of chart behavior you want to look for on a one-day chart as far as entry and exit, what type of chart behavior to look for. I'll get into that in the paid version. And then it looks like towards the end of the day, we sell off from an overbought crest or peak. There's 3 crisscrosses back and forth through the same price level around the high, so we may see like a high twice, and it looks like towards the beginning of the day there's probably a crest, and then towards the end of the day there's a near overbought crest that we decline off of. In between, there may be a notable decline because there's 2 lows on a 1-day chart there. One is within close time proximity to the completion of a rally on a 1-day chart, and the other low forms after a failed attempt to break through key resistance on a 1-day chart, followed by a decline through key support on a 1-day chart into that second low. But then on the 8th, there's a significant trough here and a trade opportunity we'll talk about in more detail in the paid version, as well as entry and exit points. We may have a similar crest towards the end of the day on the 8th, and one local low on a 1-day chart there on the 8th that forms after a failed attempt to break through key resistance, and then a decline through key support on a 1-day scale. It'll be like key resistance that we fail to break through after falsely establishing support, and then after we fail to break through that resistance, we decline through that falsely established support in a lot of cases. On the 11th, we have a gap down with the big move to the upside, and then off of a peak or crest midday on the 11th, another sharp drop through multiple support levels into the 12th, and a significant gap down overnight on the night of the 12th into the morning of the 13th, where we have a prominent trough. We may very well see a lowest low again here, based on the fact that the Hermit card is the decline to revisit a support level we recently met once before on a multi-day kind of scale, an important support level. And because we're rallying out of the low, giving us opportunity to open up a short position, meaning that we're likely coming back to the low at least one more time, that makes a lot of sense. So we probably decline through the 13th into the 14th, and we do a period of sideways rotation from the 13th into the 14th, and in that period of sideways rotation, there's a sharp drop that'll stand out on a 1-day chart, and that'll take us into a crest or peak, that'll take us into a trough there at the end of the day. A trade opportunity on the 13th and the 14th, we'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. And then on the 15th, an unexpected move. The full card is a difficult card to determine direction. If you just look at the card by itself, it could go either way. So it's actually not difficult to determine. What I do when I get the full card is I'll throw down another card to indicate which direction it's going. And it's pretty mixed here. So there's probably a lot of price change. There's probably a lot of price change on the 15th, back and forth. On the 18th, 19th, these are toppy cards here. On the 18th, 19th, we've got the science card, which is an important technical price level, usually acting as resistance. It's an important technical price level on a scale greater than the scale of the time frame of the reading. So in the case of a 1-month reading, the science card indicates an important technical price level on a scale of like a 1-year chart instead of a 1-month. This ruin also in a lot of cases indicates like a temporary poke through an important price level, and it looks like we do that towards the end of the day. On the 19th, we have a prominent move higher through key resistance on a multi-day, and then a move back down through that same price level shortly thereafter. The abundance card in a lot of cases is a top or a new local high, sometimes a high, like a new high, but it could be like a new local high here. We probably break through whatever this price level is on the 18th momentarily, and then come back down into like a trough around the cusp of the 19th, 20th. There should be a significant move to the downside there, to a gap down on the 20th. Pretty significant trade here on the 19th. There's a day trade. There's also a swing trade opportunity between the 18th and the 20th, which we'll talk about in more detail in the paid version. If you're interested in getting the paid version, it's a really great way to support the channel. What you get out of it is about 3 to 8 minutes of extra information in addition to the public video, I should say. That information is strictly about the best trades that we see. Some of the trades are going to be better than other trades, so we specify which ones and what kind of chart behavior to look for entry and exit. We also look at it on like a 1-year scale. We'll look at it if there's any relevant trades, which there are some relevant trades early in the month of September, it looks like. And then again on like a multi-year scale, even, is there a significant trade? And really in the midst of that decline, we want to get into a long position for a notable move or rally into 2024. That type of information. Things like opening up a short position at the end of the day on the 6th in the midst of 3 crisscrosses back and forth through the same price level around the high. On that third cross, which is probably towards the end of the day, I would open up that short position, and then you could close that short position in the midst of a decline on a 1-day scale there on the 7th. Or if you miss that because there's another crest or peak towards the end of the day, you could do it again in the midst of a decline on a 1-day scale there on the 8th. And then the low, or where you would want to do that around the 8th, it's going to form after we have a failed attempt to break through key resistance on a 1-day scale, and then a decline through previously falsely established support on a 1-day scale. So that type of information, and we get into more detail. So the way that you get that, guys, a really great way to support the channel, you go to our website, Tarot for Traders, under our services, SO Meta Posts, you want to scroll to monthly subscription, and then you just click on whichever ticker symbol or crypto you're interested in getting the paid information for on a monthly basis. Really helps out the channel. If you're interested in multiple tickers or crypto, I highly recommend the 250 subscription because it's the most popular subscription by far, and that gets you access to pretty much everything. We also have one-offs that aren't going to be subscriptions, like the Amazon and the Google readings that have been coming out. Those are not subscription based. I can't be on the hook to do those every single month, but when they do come out, the only way to access the paid version is through this 30 days access to all paid monthly predictions. That's just the way it is, my friends. So check out one of these. Really great way to support the channel. We definitely remember the names of everybody that does that. And there's also every trading day between 3 and 4 p.m. Eastern time, there's live stock market and crypto commentary where you can hop on and get any information updates, because sometimes things do change, and a reading that once was not exactly clear becomes very clear after a little bit of time passes. You can see a lot more of what's going to transpire for the remainder of the reading. So all right, so there's that breakout out through resistance. Briefly, we break back down through that same price level shortly thereafter with like a new local high, or probably a highest high thus far. Matter of fact, I think the 19th is a highest high thus far early in the morning, and then at the end of the day there's a notable trough, or it might be overnight. There's probably a gap down, and then on the 20th a fast sudden move higher, trade opportunity there as well. And on the 21st we do sideways rotation along key support, rise to meet the nearest key resistance, and then fall back down and continue rotating sideways along key support. That's the support on a multi-day scale. On the 27th, we have a pop and drop with a big move into a midday peak or crest, followed by a drop off of that. Over the weekend, we have a rally along a diagonal trend line, taking us to a peak or crest about midday. That rally ends with a fast sudden move higher, followed by a decline through that diagonal trend line with increasing volatility on the way down. And then there's very likely a prominent trough or low there early in the day on the 26th, with a significant reversal with a big move to the upside on the 27th. A lot of ground is covered on the 27th with a peak or crest at the end of the day. Overnight on the 28th, early in the day crest, I'm advised not to chase that rally. We decline from a key resistance on a multi-day scale there into like a low probably at the end of the day, or a prominent trough at the second half of the day on the 28th, and then a big move, like a breakout kind of move to the upside to a highest high for the month there on the 29th. And then the sneak preview for the following month is an important support level is established, meaning that it can be relied upon at least momentarily. In most cases, it's an important support level on a greater scale than the time frame of the reading. Similar to the way the science card works with resistance, the Emperor card, it indicates an important support level on like a 1 year scale. So we might make new support there in the following month. It does appear that we get into like a higher price level in October, but there's a lot of price movement to the downside. When we get into the 1 month for October, I'll be able to determine if it's right on point with the end of October or not. But right around October or November cusp, there's a significant move off of a highest high to a lowest low. All right, guys, that's the SPCE reading for September 2023. As always, make sure to follow that rule of karma. You do so here on the resources tab of our website, Tarot for Traders, where our angel investors of the channel are donating 5% of the profits forward to one of these charities, successfully transmuting the stock market energy into goodwill. It's like transmutation, my friends. And then 5% of the profits they're donating back to the channel to support the channel and say thank you for all the hard work that we do. That leaves them with 90% of the money. Angel investors are spending that money out of love, and following those 3 rules, the universe sends it back to them tenfold through this channel, my friends. Stay tuned if you got the paid version. I'll see you guys on the next one.